Curriculum development in the Philippines. According to Howell and Evans 1995, curriculum is a structured set of learning outcomes or tasks that educators usually call goals and objectives. And also they said, curriculum is the what of teaching. And lastly, curriculum is listing of subject to be taught in school. Curriculum development. It is defined as the process of selecting, organizing, executing, and evaluating learning experiences on the basis of the needs, abilities, and interests of the learners and the nature of the society or community. Curriculum development in the Philippines. Touch on the religion, economic, political, and social influences and events that took place in the country. Colonial rules in the Philippines tailored the curriculum to serve colonial goals and objectives. Two schools of thought on curriculum development. Two schools of thought predominated throughout history of curriculum development is the Essentialist school and the Progressive school. The Essentialist school. It considered the curriculum as something rigid consisting of disciplined subjects. It considers all learners as much as the same, and it aims to fit the learner into the existing social order and thereby maintain the status quo. Its major motivation is discipline and considers freedom as an outcome and not a means of education. The Progressive School. It conceived of the curriculum as something flexible based on areas of interest. It is learner-centered, having in mind that no two persons are alike. Its factor of motivation is individual achievement, believing that persons are naturally good. And it uses a life experience approach to fit the student for future social life.
A throwback of Philippine curriculum. As you can see, there's a different curriculum and there it grow. The pre-Spanish curriculum. The Filipino possess a culture of their own. They had a contacts with other foreign people from Arabia, India, China, Indochina, and Borneo. The inhabitants were civilized people, possessing their system of writing, laws, and moral standard in the well of organized government.
Pre-Spanish devised curriculum. The Spanish missionaries aimed to control of the Filipinos, both body and soul. The curriculum then consisted of 3 R's: reading, writing, and religion. To attain goals were the acceptance of Catholicism and the acceptance of Spanish rule. Spanish devised curriculum. The schools were parochial or convent schools. The main readings were the Catecismo. The method of instructions was mainly individual memorization. American devised curriculum. The motive of the Americans was to conquer the Filipinos not only physically but also mentally. The curriculum was based on the ideals and tradition of America and their hierarchy of values. English was the medium of instructions. The primary curriculum prescribed for the Filipinos consisted of 3 grades, which provides training in 2 aspects: the body training, physical education, and the mental training, English, nature study, and arithmetic.
And now, the Commonwealth curriculum. In 1935 to 1946, it is considered as a period of expansion and reform in the Philippine curriculum. The educational leaders expanded the curriculum by introducing course in farming, domestic science, and etc. Commonwealth Act 586, also known as Educational Act of 1940, recognized the elementary school system. The Japanese devised curriculum. They devised a curriculum for the Filipinos to suit their vested interest. They introduced many changes in the curriculum by including Nippongo and abolishing English as the medium of instruction and as a subject. All textbooks were censored and revised. It caused a blackout in the Philippine education and impeded the educational progress of the Filipinos. Liberation Period Curriculum. In 1945, steps were taken to improve the curriculum existing before the war. And also, the curriculum remained basically the same as before and was still subject-centered. The Philippine Republic Curriculum. It is a great experiment in the community school and the use of vernacular in the first two grades of the primary school as the medium of instructions for some of them. And it is an experiment worth mentioning that led to a change in the Philippine educational philosophy was that of school and community collaboration pioneered by Jose V. Aguilar. Lastly, schools are increasingly using instructional materials that are Philippine-oriented. The curriculum during the Philippine Republic. Books which are contributions to Philippine literature. Books on the character education and other library materials. Library equipment and permanent features. To guarantee that the educational system will be relevant and responsive to the challenges and the requirements of national, provincial, and local development. Principles and general objectives of education. Please read and understand. Laws about education. Public elementary and secondary education is supported by the national government, the former as mandated by the Constitution 1987, which states that the state shall protect and promote the right of all citizens to quality education at all levels and shall take appropriate steps to make such education accessible to all, and the latter by Republic Act Number 6655 of Free Secondary Education Act. Here's are the Philippine Basic Education Curriculum. First is the National Elementary School Curriculum or NESC. Second is the New Secondary Education Curriculum, NSEC. Third is the Revised Basic Education Curriculum, RBEC. Fourth is the Secondary Education Curriculum, SEC 2010, and lastly, the K-12 Basic Curriculum.
What is K-12 Basic Education Curriculum? Republic Act 10533, also known as Enhanced Basic Education Act of 2013, is a program which encompasses at least 1 year of kindergarten education, 6 years of elementary education, and 6 years of secondary education. In that sequence, secondary education includes 4 years of junior high school and 2 years of senior high school. Now, let's proceed to the standards of the curriculum. We have different types of standards. As you can see, we have A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and H. You can read it and understand. Department of Education. It is the principal government agency responsible for education and manpower development. The mission of the department is to provide quality basic education that is equitably accessible to all the lays the foundation for long life learning and service for the common good. The department is primarily responsible for the formulation, planning, implementing, and coordination of the policies, standards, regulation, plans, programs, and projects in areas of formal and non-formal.
The Bureau of Elementary Education o BBE is responsible for providing access and quality elementary education for all. It also focuses on social service for the poor and directs public resources and efforts at socially disadvantaged regions. The Bureau of Non-Formal Education is responsible for contributing to the improvement of the poor through literacy and continuing education programs. Its aims is to provide focused basic service to the more disadvantaged section of the population to improve their welfare and contribute to human resources development. the Bureau of Physical Education and School Sport, responsible for physical fitness promotion, school sports development, cultural heritage, revival, Kundiman Festival, natural heritage, conservation and values development. The Technical Education and Skills Development Authority, or TESDA, was established through the enhancement of Republic Act No. 7796, otherwise known as the Technical Education and Skill Development Act of 1994. The Commission of Higher Education, or CHED, is independent and separate from the DepEd. The Commission is responsible for formulating and implementing policies, plans, and programs for development and efficient operation of the system of higher education in the country. Its coverage is both public and private higher education institutions, as well as degree-granting programs in all post-secondary education. Educational system in the Philippines. The educational system in country includes formal and non-formal education. The private sectors. The private sectors has been a major provider of educational service, accounting for about 7.5% of primary enrollment, 30% of secondary enrollment, and about 88% of tertiary enrollment. And then, per unit cost is private schools are generally lower when compared to public schools. Lastly, the education service contracting scheme of the government provides financial assistance for tuition and other school fees if students turn away from public high school because of enrollment overflow.